So just a little disclaimer, guys. This is not a rant or event video. This is just a regular video, even though you guys can say it's a rant or a... Hold on. So like I said, this is not a rant nor event video, but this is just a normal video. You guys can say I'm ranting and venting all you want, but, that's just your opinion. We're in a free country, and we have our rights to our opinions. But anyway, let's get this video started. Hey guys, SKNY1996 here. Now, as you guys can basically tell by the title and thumbnail of this video, this is going to be a message to those who are asking or questioning or demanding about when these ongoing and tragic events are going to end. Now, I'm not really going to mention the types of ongoing and tragic events that are happening because I'm pretty sure you might know these types of tragic events and ongoing events that are happening right now. So, guys, I hate to say this to you, but these ongoing events and tragic events that you're watching, like on the news or reading on a newspaper, or if you're watching it on your phone or your tablet or any other device like that, or wherever you read the news from, these types of tragic events are never going to end. There's no time limit. There hasn't been a time limit, and there never will be a time limit. These types of ongoing and tragic events are just going to live onward. No matter, even if we grow old, there will still be tragic events and ongoing events as well. I don't know why some people say, "Oh, wait, is my chin touching the mic?" Yeah, it still touches the mic. Let me move it a bit. There. Now it's not touching the mic anymore. So, like I was saying, these types of events that go on in your life, in our lives rather, they don't end. They never end. I mean, there's no time limit. There hasn't been a time limit, and there never will be a time limit. Even when God created this whole world, there lots of tragic events have been happening, and they're still ongoing and stuff. I don't know why some people these days are always demanding these tragic and ongoing events to be over, or when they're going to be, or like when they're going to end rather. But these people should know better than to ask, because they should know also that these events last forever. There's no time limit. There is no time limit. I know I said that twice. But there is no time limit. There hasn't been a time limit, and there never will be a time limit. You know? Of course you know. So why are you guys saying that? You guys know that ongoing and tragic events never end. There's no time limit. And there hasn't been a time limit, and there never will be a time limit. You guys can say, "Oh, what are these tragic and ongoing events ever going to end?" all you want. But just to clarify, guys, there's no time limit. There hasn't been a time limit, and there never will be a time limit. These ongoing events and tragic events will just live onward, even when we grow old, and even when we're dead. Even if we're dead, there will still be ongoing and tragic events that are happening in this world we live in. And it's not just happening in the United States. No, there are other tragic and scary and sad events and other types of ongoing events are happening in other countries too. Like, there may be some tragic and ongoing events happening in Canada. Some might be happening in Mexico. Some might be happening in the Netherlands or Germany or Kazakhstan, Russia, Ukraine, um, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Togo, French Guiana, Morocco, Tunisia, and other countries that we are living in right now. I mean, seriously, guys, you can't. I mean, yeah. You guys can say, "Oh, when are these tragic and ongoing events ever going to end?" All you want, but like I said, guys, there's no time limit. They're never going to end. There's no time limit. Nothing that ever happens in this world we live in has a time limit, and and there there never will be a time limit. There hasn't been any time limit. You guys can wish for these tragic and ongoing events to end all you want, but it's not going to happen, and it's never going to happen. Some of you guys are probably going to be like, "Oh, you don't care about it. You really don't care about these tragic events." And so, well, I'm not going to say whether if I care or not, because some people might agree with me, some people might disagree with me. Yeah, but all in all, guys, these types of tragic events that are happening in this world that we live in, whether if we live in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Togo, South Africa, Spain, Portugal, Brazil, Guyana, Jamaica, um, Chad, Morocco, Tunisia, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Ukraine, or anywhere else like that, these types of events are never going to end. There's no time limit. I mean, World Wars One and Two and all the other wars that happened back a long time ago, they had a time limit, but that was that back then. But this is the present now. And we're still living in these ongoing and tragic events, and they will never end. And these things are never going to end. You just got to understand, even if you don't agree with me. So all in all, guys, if you're still asking about when these tragic and ongoing events are ever going to end, well, these events that are happening in this world we live in, they're never going to end. There's no time limit. There hasn't been a time limit, and there never will be a time limit. You know? Of course you know. So all in all, guys, that's about it. I got nothing else to say about this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. This is SKNY1996 signing off. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment.